Hold up. If you wanna go and take a ride with me, better hit me, baby, one more time.
More variety than you can imagine. Relax Radio.
The Chat Trap.
A very good evening to you and welcome back to the show. This is, of course, the Chat Trap on Relax Radio. I am Jaimmy and I'm going to be with you for 3 whole hours, giving you the best of conversation. We're going to be talking about a lot of different, very interesting things, okay? And I want you to be a part of the show. I want you to tune in. I want you to let me know what's going on because, at the end of the day, like I always say, what's most important to me is you. So go right ahead. Feel free to have a conversation with me. If it's about how your day went, if it's about, whatever we're talking about, I absolutely don't mind. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to know your thoughts and your opinions. So make sure that you go right ahead and call me up on 07852 473 473 or leave a comment down below. Hello going out to every single one of you listening in. I hope you had an amazing Friday. But no matter how your day went, remember that tomorrow is the weekend, and I don't know about you, but I'm so excited for the weekend. And I think you definitely deserve a break, okay? So take the weekend, take Saturday and Sunday to just make sure that you get back on track. And if you've had a horrible week, that's okay. Take 2 days off to kind of rethink and refocus and to get back in track. Now, with that being said, we have a lot of amazing things to talk about today. One of the most specific things that I do want to talk about or touch on today is with regards to online dating. Now, I know that this topic in itself can be very controversial because I know that there's a lot of people that believe online dating is the way to go, whereas I also know that there's a lot of other people that think that online dating is just, it's chaotic and it's horrible for generations. But I want to know what you think. That conversation is going to come up in a few seconds, so make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. But right now, I just want to give you an update with regards to what's happening with regards to the whole COVID situation. And yesterday we were talking about how the travel restrictions are supposed to be easing on the 19th of July, and we spoke about how the travel restrictions with easing down on the 19th of July, there's going to be a lot of positivity that is spread. According to Prime Minister Boris Johnson, he says that in the UK, especially in England, things are hopefully going to go back to normal, going to go back to how they were pre-pandemic as of 19th of July. So I don't know about you, but my fingers are definitely crossed and I cannot wait to get back into normal life and be able to go out with friends, be able to just, enjoy life. Now, with that being said, I also want to remind you to be as safe as possible, even though restrictions are coming off in a lot of countries, not just in the UK. I want you to be as safe as possible. I want you to be, just take responsibility for yourself. Just wear your mask if it's still required in your area that you're living in. Use sanitizer, just be as safe as possible because it's always better to be safe than sorry. Now, with that being said, I also want to remind you that apparently, with regards to the situation in Germany, now Angela Merkel hopes to open up travel for double-jabbed visitors to Germany. So if you have received both your vaccinations, if you've received both doses of your vaccination rather, you should be able to travel from the UK to Germany and you won't have to quarantine. And that's just something that I wanted to say. And Angela Merkel said that especially if you did receive both of your vaccine doses, you should be able to travel from the UK to Germany and you wouldn't be required to quarantine or self-isolate. And she said that that's the situation in the foreseeable future. Again, that gives me a lot of hope. We'll be able to travel. And I was talking to you about a few countries that have been moved back into the UK's green list for traveling, and that had a lot of islands, like the Caribbean islands, Antigua, and so many, Dominican Republic, if I'm not mistaken as well, are a few countries that have been entered into the green list of the UK travel green list. So that essentially gives us hope that everything possibly could go back to normal very soon. But I just need you to hang in there for a little bit longer. Just be as safe as possible. Hang in there, and I promise you that things are definitely going to get better. Now, with that being said, I also want to remind you that times have definitely been as tough as it could be this past couple, I would say, years, right? But at the end of the day, I want to remind you that happiness can be found even in the darkest of times. The up and down are almost like an essential part of life. I don't know if you agree with me, but I definitely believe that the ups and downs of life are essential as much as night and day. So no matter what is going on around us with COVID, it's definitely been super hard for every single one of us. No matter how rich you are, no matter how poor you are, you've definitely had to face certain obstacles and boundaries in your life because of the COVID-19 situation and because of so many other negative situations that's happening in the world. But I want to remind you that at the end of the day, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times. So as frustrating as this sounds, I want you to do something for me. I want you to try to find that positivity. I want you to try to find that happiness even in the darkest of times, okay? For me, it's just one thing that I have learned to live with is to never waste a day without happiness. So if you spend a day without being joyful or without being happy, I feel like that's a day wasted. Now I know it's really hard to be happy. I know it's really hard to be joyful, especially given the current situation with everything that's going on. It's not easy to be positive. It's not easy to be happy, but I need you to try, okay? How often have you found yourself in the darkness and negative side of life? Now, do you remember at that time to kind of switch on to the light rather? Life, I feel like, is passing day by day, and we are passing these days without really enjoying it, which I feel like is a huge issue. Okay, so my goal for you is that you not just you live life instead of passing life, if that makes sense to you. Okay, recall the days of the past week. Recall the days of your last month. How much did you enjoy the past month? How much did you actually live last month or the last week? How many happiness moments were there? You know, if you are not able to find enough, let me tell you that you are not living enough. So stop wasting your days, stop wasting your life. Every moment that you get, I believe is a gift, okay? Every moment that you get is definitely a gift. So spend it on things that matter. Spend it on things that actually, that actually count. Don't spend it on dwelling on unhappy things. Don't spend it on. Don't spend your moments dwelling on things that you can't change. There are so many days that have been wasted hoping for a better tomorrow. We always say, oh, tomorrow is going to be better than today, and then tomorrow is just a repeat of that. So I don't want that to happen to you. I don't want you to waste another day. I want you to learn to live happily in any condition. Because I believe that being happy is not something that comes automatically. You know, if you see people that are constantly happy, it's not because of the things they have. It's not just, it doesn't just come to them. They choose to be happy. So one thing that I want you to try to do, one thing that I'm going to try to help you to do is to learn to live happily in any condition. Give a break to the problems. You know, I feel like our generation, me included, I am very much a victim to this as well. We're about fast. We want everything fast. We want to succeed fast. We want to be happy fast. And we're a generation that requires a quick fix for every single thing. You know, we want shortcuts to the destination. And if we don't get that, we say, oh, my fortune is cursed. We curse ourselves. We say, oh, things are not going our way. Life is unfair. But we start experiencing pain and stress and loneliness and anxiety because we kind of don't find the shortcut to this destination that we want to get to. Now, just because one thing isn't working for you, I want to remind you to not spend all of your time crying over it. Okay? If something isn't working for you, say it could be one particular job, or it could be a friendship or anything of that sort. At the end of the day, I want you to remember, if one thing's not working for you, leave it for a while and focus on something else. Focus on other things. Okay? If you do not seem to find a solution, give it a break. Stop stressing about it. I know this is so much easier said than done, but I need you to try, okay? For example, okay, let's see an example. Okay, if you are not getting like a decent job, keep preparing and have a break between. If a relationship doesn't work for you, take a break worrying about it. If your business meeting didn't go as expected, do not ruin your rest of the day. Take a break. So at the end of the day, I want to remind you that we are a generation that looks for a quick fix for everything. We look for shortcuts to get to our destination. And in that process, we kind of get hurt. We experience pain. We experience stress, loneliness, and anxiety. But I want you to do something for me, okay? I want you to take a break. Whatever that's bothering you right now, try to stop thinking about it. Try to think of all the good things that have happened to you in your life. Again, I know that this is so much easier said than done, but I need you to try. Don't forget to press that happiness button. Okay, like I said before, happiness is not something that you get automatically. It's not something that just washes over you. You need to choose to be happy. You need to choose happiness. You need to press that button on happiness. So, when you take a break on things, don't forget to turn on your happiness. Okay? There could be different forms of happiness for everybody. So don't look at somebody else on social media and say, oh, this is what that person uses to be happy, so let me try it as well. No, look into yourself. Figure out what makes you happy the most. Figure out what gives you joy. And then use that and just choose to be happy. Okay, for example, play your favorite music track for a while. This is something that definitely helps me when I'm having a really, really bad time. One thing that I do, or one way that I try to be as bubbly and happy as possible is with music. Because music has this power to kind of uplift your mood. Music has this power to uplift your spirit. That's just for me. That's something that I figured out on my own. But what I need you to do is to figure out what kind of gives you that incentive to turn on your happiness? What gives you the incentive to be as happy as possible? So do whatever it takes to be happy. Don't forget to switch on your happiness. It refreshes and boosts your mind's power. You are going to feel more powerful to deal with the circumstances. And I feel like when you choose happiness, all of these big problems kind of seem trivial. Right? And okay, so I'm a sort of person that kind of, when I have an issue or when I have a problem, I feel like that problem overtakes my entire life. Like I think about nothing other than that specific problem or that specific obstacle. But as soon as a few days or a month passes, you look back and you're just like, oh my goodness, did I really stress about that for so long? And it's just over now. Right? I'm sure you've had instances like that. So I want you to take a break from worrying. I want you to take a break to look for happiness. Okay? Look, there's so many places where you can find happiness. It's always around us. Okay? So don't look in the wrong places. Don't expect it from others. Happiness is inside of you. You just need to experience it. You can feel it in the little things. If you don't want to be happy, not me I can talk about this for hours, but if you don't make a conscious decision to be as happy as possible, it's not going to help. So make that decision today. Just do whatever it takes to smile a little bit more. Watch a funny video, watch a comedy movie, listen to some good music, and just give your mind a break, okay? Now, with that being said, we are going to head on over to some more interesting conversations, so make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relaks Radio. We're going to head on over to a little break, but when I come back, we're going to be talking about a lot of interesting things.
One of the easiest ways to increase your net worth is to ensure that you have higher cash flows. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to not buy things on hire purchase, not buy things over months and months because you can't afford them now, but you want it. It's kind of that delayed gratification. Rather than buy that couch, that car, that stereo, that computer, whatever item, and pay it off over 12, 24, 36 months at an interest rate, rather invest that money, make do with what you've got, And then after 12, 24, 36 months, take the money that you've now invested and buy that good. An asset could be anything that appreciates or reduces a tax bill. So it could still be a liability, but it reduces their tax bill. And I'm not going to go into the technicalities because that's out of our remit here. However, for our use or our purpose, what we are talking for the listeners here is I would put this definition of an asset forward. An asset is anything that increases your income. Anything.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? When you are basically going out and during a day, if you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that, the rich pay less taxes or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true, the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods. They're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if that, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK.
Again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. Why did you reject my son? Well, I haven't rejected your son.
I want to talk about, how the generation gap, how much has changed, especially when you check the youth nowadays in comparison, to people back in the day.
I'd say when I was younger, it was more disciplined. Not now.
In comparison to now.
Not at all. Not now. The way things are nowadays, the younger generation, you seem that they can't accept the word no. If that makes sense. They can't
accept rejection, essentially, is all you're trying to say.
Yeah, they can't accept the word no. So if you how did I do? Or you didn't do very well, and they get upset. And when I was a youngster, my father used to say to me, because I used to be sport mad when I was very young, well, I still am sport mad, but like participating in different sports. And if I had a bad game, for example, he might say to me, you had one to forget. That's it.
Your dad sounds like a smart guy. I mean, yeah, that's the real fact of the matter, yeah.
He'd say to me, you had one to forget. Get over it. And that was it. So I dust myself down and do it again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. Why did you reject my son? Well, I haven't rejected your son. Or daughter. I've just told them that they need to buck their ideas up.
That's the truth right there. I mean, if you think about it, if you check the generations, like right now in the US as well, I've seen a lot of these things as well. In the UK, you get medals for participation. But what's the point? What are you trying to? Yeah, what's the point? Either you win or you lose. People are so afraid to put that whole notion of losing. When it comes to right now, the generation gap is just crazy. How much a lot has changed. Social media has taken control of our lives, and we don't even realize it anymore. We're crippled because of it.
That's absolutely right, Nick. Because, as you said, nowadays it seems that you get rewarded for failure. For the life of me, Nick, I can't get my head around that. Perhaps I'm just getting old and morbid, I don't know. I just can't get my head around how you could be rewarded for failure.
Come and listen on
Don't be afraid to catch fish.
Relax Radio.
The Chat Trap.
Welcome back to the show and a very good evening to you. How are you doing? Hope you are having yourself an amazing day so far. We've spoken of something very, I would say, mindful for the past few minutes, but right now I want to get into some entertainment gossip just to keep you updated with what is going on in the entertainment world in the UK and around the world as well. So if you want to know more, all you got to do is make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. We're going to be talking about a lot of interesting things, and I definitely want to know what you think. I want to know your opinion. I want to know your stance on this, because we're going to be talking about, at least right now, I want to talk about Love Island. Now, I know that's something that is loved by a lot of people, especially in the UK. And if you're in the US, you love things like The Bachelor and things like that. But I also know that there's a lot of people who have different opinions, and that there's a lot of people that, have very extreme opinions with regards to this. I want to know what you're thinking. You know, I have my personal opinion, but use this platform as a way where you can share your thoughts and opinions with every single person that's listening in. Okay, we're streaming on multiple platforms. We're streaming on multiple of our social media platforms. We're also playing, or there are so many people that are listening to us on our app as well. So if you want to share in your opinion and thoughts with every single person that's listening in, with everybody that's tuning in right now, go right ahead. Feel free to do so by leaving a comment down below if you're listening to us on any of our social media platforms, or by calling us on 078 52 473 473. I want you to join the conversation live. I want to know what's happening. I want to know how your day went. I want to know what you're thinking. So go right ahead and let me know. Now, with that being said, actually, before we go into the conversation, I also want to remind you to download our app, okay? It's available absolutely free of charge on iOS and Android, and you can just take us with you wherever that you go. It doesn't matter where you are. We're unlike any other radio station because you don't need a signal, or you don't need like a frequency to listen to us. All you gotta do is download our app, and you can connect with us online. You can connect with us live here on the conversation, which is pretty cool, you know. So go right ahead, get on board the show, be a part of the show, because I would absolutely love to hear from you. Now, with that being said, what is the scene about Love Island? Why is everybody talking about this? Now, if you don't know, Love Island is basically like a dating show, I would say, and it's happening in the UK. And why everybody is talking about it is because Love Island, which is the ITV2 dating show, it returns after an 18-month break. Okay, so basically what's happening is, the reason why people are talking about this particular dating show is because Love Island actually returns to screens on Monday after about an 18-month break enforced because of the whole coronavirus pandemic. Now, I personally know quite a lot of people that are super excited that Love Island is coming back on, the screen, and that people can view and watch this. But I also know a lot of other people are like, I can't be, I couldn't care any less, right? I want to know what type of person are you? Are you the sort to binge watch things like The Bachelor and Love Island? Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of like dating shows. It's just because I have like a very cynical view of like online dating and dating shows in general. But I do know a lot of you absolutely love watching dating shows because, come on, it is a form of entertainment, and if it helps get your head into a better space, I guess that's all that matters. So let me know what you're thinking. Are you excited for the fact that Love Island is going to be screening as of Monday? Now, it is going to be the first new series of the ITV2 dating show since, I think it was Paige Turley and Finley Tapo crowned the winners of the first winter series, at least last year. Now, there's 11 new islanders who are basically set to enter the villa in Bohoga, and there is going to be Laurie Whitemore and Lane Sterling returning to hosting and narrating duties. Now, ITV has also announced an updated range of welfare measures for the contestants, which I think is absolutely good. And the cast essentially is going to be so much more diverse this year as opposed to it has been so far, which again, I think is a good thing. It's always inclusivity and diversity at the end of the day is good. Doesn't matter what the platform is, it's just nice to have different sorts of people from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, and it's just nice to have a diverse group of people. Now, with that being said, the 7th series of Love Island, actually, like I said before, it kicks off on ITV2 on Monday rather, and a lot of people say that it was missed over the last summer, and yeah, a lot of people are actually saying, I was reading some tweets actually, and a lot of the fans of Love Island are saying that they're not going to be surprised if the ratings for Love Island are going to be higher than ever for this series. I guess it's because people missed it and everybody just wants to know what's going on. And that's the thing about dating shows, right? So I am not personally a fan of dating shows. But sometimes, just out of curiosity, especially when that's what everybody's talking about, and when social media is blowing up with pictures and news articles about these things, you just tend to watch it, even though you don't like it, even though it's not something that excites you. You kind of tend to watch it just for to be on trend or whatever. And I think that's the thing about dating shows. It's just it spikes curiosity, I would say, and you just want to know how it ends up, even though you think it's stupid. If you do, you just want to know how it ends up. So I guess that's just the thing about dating shows. Now, I guess it continues to be so popular just because of its ability to create nationwide conversation, whether it's over very trivial, fiery arguments, hilarious moments. At the end of the day, everybody just wants to be a part of what's happening, and everybody just wants to get themselves entertained by this very light-hearted dating show that's just fun to watch. It's a lot of drama, and I guess people just want to break from reality sometimes, and this kind of gives the opportunity to do so. So I want to know if you were a fan of dating shows. Do you like Love Island? Are you excited that it's going to be back on the screen on Monday? Go ahead, let me know. Call me up on 07852473473, or make sure that you leave a comment down below. Now, we already know, with regards to going back to the whole Love Island conversation, we already know who the first 11 islanders will be, because it's basically been everywhere. Like I said, I barely keep up with dating shows, especially Love Island, but I myself have seen and come across so many social media posts as to who the 11 islanders or the cast for Love Island will be. But apparently there's going to be we are going to be expected to see several more contestants actually who will be joining the series over the next few weeks. Now, for me, why I started talking about this at least is because I got super excited because there's this PE teacher that hold up, it's super interesting because apparently this is the first dating show that's going to have a differently abled contestant. So his name is Hugo Hammond, and he is a PE teacher, and he is going to be the first disabled contestant, although some viewers have described his casting as a step rather than a leap. And I don't know, in my view, it's a step towards inclusivity, and I respect that, and I'm glad that that's happening. So yeah, there's going to be a disabled contestant in this series of the Love Island, which I guess is going to be super interesting, and it's going to be something different, which definitely people are going to be super excited about. Okay, with that being said, the reason I wanted to talk to you about this also is because we're going to be talking about online dating. If it's a good thing, if it's a bad thing, it's definitely something that I do want to talk about. So, which is why I wanted to just bring this up. I'm so glad that platforms like Love Island are being more inclusive. For example, like including Hugo Hammond, who is basically differently abled contestant. So that's just some inclusivity right there. So I guess that's a good thing. But I know that there's a lot of you who have different opinions with regards to dating shows, especially with regards to Love Island. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know if you were a fan of dating shows. Is it some lighthearted comedy, lighthearted drama that you just watch to get through a hard day, or do you just cannot stand it? Are you somebody that cannot stand dating shows? Go ahead and let me know. You know the drill. Leave a comment down below or call me up and let me know. Now, with that being said, I'm actually going to go for a little break, but when we come back, we have a lot of things to talk about. So make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relaks Radio.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? When you are basically going out and during a day, you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that, the rich pay less taxes or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true, the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods, they're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK. We've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? Because in a public company where the stock is traded openly on the stock exchange, the value of that stock is driven by supply and demand, it's driven by emotion, it's driven by news, it's driven by quite a lot of variables over and above the actual accounting or total net worth of that company. I mean, we've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? And the company may still have value, it may still be doing quite a good thing.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, got me thinking. You want to stand out. Why do you want to stand out though so much, especially with these kind of shirts when you're riding? There must be a purpose behind it, right?
Well, when you say a purpose, Nick, what I do, I wear the shirts. Mainly, one, because they're nice and bright, so they make me visible, especially if I'm riding on the road.
Okay. Yeah, that's very important, right? Because you want cars, yeah.
Very important. And also, like, people see me in, like, calves, and perhaps I shouldn't be saying this on air, I suppose, but in the bar afterwards.
All right.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? When you are basically going out and during a day, if you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that, the rich pay less taxes or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true, the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods, they're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK. We've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? Because in a public company where the stock is traded openly on the stock exchange, the value of that stock is driven by supply and demand, it's driven by emotion, it's driven by news, it's driven by quite a lot of variables over and above the actual accounting or total net worth of that company. I mean, we've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? And the company may still have value, it may still be doing quite a good things.
Chat Trap.
A very good evening to you and welcome back to the show. How is everybody doing? How is your Friday night going by so far? I mean, I don't know about you, but I always love Friday nights because that's kind of the day where you meet up with friends, where you have a good time with your maybe family or close relatives or friends, like I said. And I just want you to have the best time possible. Just make sure that you be as safe as possible because we're definitely not over the risk of COVID. So be as safe as possible, but just make sure that you have a fun as well, that you have as good of a time as possible, because that also I feel like is absolutely important. Now, with that being said, I have a lot that I want to talk to you about, but right now, actually, I do want to talk about something very interesting that I feel like will be a bit technical, but it is definitely something that we need to be aware of, especially if you live in the UK or even if you live in the rest of the world, because Brexit is something that everybody's been talking about, right? Now, I know that the other shows have essentially touched on the main aspects with regards to Brexit, and of course, if you're living in the UK, you are more than aware of what's happening. But what I want to explore within the next couple minutes is essentially the impact of Brexit on like the entertainment industry, on young musicians, up and coming artists. And I want to explore the impact on all of these artists that are supposed to be touring, that are supposed to be having touring the EU, and the horrible impact or the effect of Brexit on these young musicians and up and coming artists. And it's definitely something that I want to explore, and I think you should also know this because it's definitely something that affects the people that we live with, right? And it's something that you need to be aware of, which is why I decided to share this with you. So make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relaks Radio. Make sure that you let me know what's going on. Are you somebody that's trying to get into the entertainment industry, especially are you somebody that is a young up and coming artist that is struggling because of Brexit? I definitely want to know, so make sure that you let me know. Now, with that being said, firstly, I want to discuss about what exactly Brexit meant to UK musicians or musicians who are living in the UK. Now, firstly, following the end of the transition period with the EU, UK musicians basically, so I didn't know this for the longest time, but apparently UK musicians can no longer travel and work freely across the EU. Now, I'll say that again, following the end of the transition period with the EU, rather, UK musicians can no longer travel and work freely across the EU. Now, in a few countries like Spain and Germany, musicians will have to apply for a work permit if they want to be able to be paid for performances, which to me seems very hard from my perspective. I'm not a musician and I don't know how musicians deal with this, but it's definitely gotta be really hard, especially if you're an up and coming artist and you're just starting to tour. It definitely cannot be easy. Now, the EU and the UK have both said that they put forward proposals to prevent this outcome, but that they could not come to an agreement. So, yeah, basically that's what's happening, and I think it's really sad that a lot of musicians have to go through this. It's not easy. I feel like, for example, Bobby and Jenny Beth actually said that Brexit has destroyed any hope for younger musicians. Now, understanding that music or musicians is also one of a huge source of income to our country, to the UK as a whole, but it's also a livelihood for a lot of people. But Brexit has definitely made it so much harder for these young up and coming artists and musicians, and yeah, that's just definitely what I wanted to talk about. And in 2018, I think there was this whole discussion that was happening to prevent this situation happening, but there was no agreement that was put in place. Now, with that being said, okay, why I wanted to talk to you about this is because me myself, I actually wasn't aware of this situation up until very recently, because I do have a friend who has a family that like tours that are classical musicians, okay? And this friend of mine said that they've been struggling so much, that their family has been struggling so much because they are basically classical musicians that travel the EU with the hopes of, performing and earning something, but life has been extremely tough for them, and not just with COVID, but because of Brexit, because as a result of Brexit, life has been extremely tough for them. So under the UK and EU trade cooperation agreement, which came into force on January, on the 1st of January, I think in 2021, apparently musical acts no longer have guaranteed visa-free travel across Europe to give paid performances, like I said before. Now, generally, on like a normal basis, UK citizens can basically travel to any country in the EU without a visa for, I think it was about a period of like 90 to 180 days, if I'm not mistaken, but there were certain restrictions, obviously, but it was allowed. Okay, so each EU member state can set its own requirements for paid work. For example, a musician would have to apply for a permit to perform in Germany or Spain, but not to perform in France or Netherlands. Now, because of negotiations that have happened, both the UK government and the EU have said that they offered proposals to maintain visa-free arrangements for musicians, but that they could not reach an agreement, like I told you before. And this has definitely had such devastating consequences on musicians. So with regards to what happened recently, just musicians are all speaking up, young musicians, especially classical musicians, are speaking up and saying that life is getting so much harder, their career, their livelihood is destroyed because of this whole proposal, and there needs to be some changes made. Now, I know this sounds pretty political, but in the long term, I feel like this whole situation can have an impact on musicians, Before it's easy, obviously, if you're an established Grammy Award winning, Billboard chart topping musician. It's obviously none of them have to face these problems, but obviously young and upcoming musicians are important to our economy, are important to our society as well. And this sector of this people actually are finding it so very hard to deal with the consequences of Brexit. Now, Brexit is a whole different conversation that I don't think we should get into right now. But if you have your opinion that you do want to share with me, go right ahead and do that by calling me up on 07852473473 or by leaving a comment down below. Now, with that being said, if you are a young and upcoming musician and you've been facing these issues, I want to know your side of the story. Brexit has been hard, like I was talking about all this time. Brexit has definitely been or has had a lot of negative consequences on young and upcoming musicians, especially because, like I said before, especially because they now cannot travel. They need a visa, a work visa to travel, and a lot of desperate musicians have pleaded the government on EU visas. Now, if you're just tuning in, we've been talking about a lot of different things. We've been talking about what exactly the impact of Brexit is on UK musicians performing in the EU rather. And I told you that following the transition period with the EU, UK musicians can no longer travel and work freely across the EU, which is basically case for a lot of other people in many other sectors. But see, the problem for young musicians is that they're trying to earn something by traveling and performing, especially with regards to classical musicians. They're having such a hard time because they need to get or apply for a work permit if they want to be paid for their performances if they travel around the EU, which definitely gives them yet another roadblock, yet another obstacle, apart from COVID-19. So definitely can be easy being a musician, being an up-and-coming artist, trying to perform and trying to get up there with your music. Definitely can't be easy. But at the end of the day, I know that not just Brexit, just the entire situation with COVID-19, with all of this going on, it has definitely been hard for all of us. All of us have had more obstacles than we could possibly have imagined or expected. But I guess as horrible as this sounds, I feel like I say this a lot and it's really hard to hear, but it's so important that you just keep pushing. It's so important that you just keep trying and just give it your best and give it your all, and don't let these roadblocks put a stop to your goals. Don't let these obstacles put a stop to what you want to achieve in life, okay? Now, with that being said, we are going to head on over to a little break. We do have a lot more interesting things that I do want to share with you, so make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relaks Radio.
One of the easiest ways to increase your net worth is to ensure that you have higher cash flows. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to not buy things on hire purchase, not buy things over months and months because you can't afford them now, but you want it. It's kind of that delayed gratification. Rather than buy that couch, that car, that stereo, that computer, whatever item, and pay it off over 12, 24, 36 months at an interest rate, rather invest that money, make do with what you've got, and then after 12, 24, 36 months, take the money that you've now invested and buy that good. An asset could be anything that appreciates or reduces a tax bill. So it could still be a liability, but it reduces their tax bill. And I'm not going to go into the technicalities because that's out of our remit here. However, for our use or our purpose, what we are talking for the listeners here is I would put this definition of an asset forward. An asset is anything that increases your income. Anything.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? When you are basically going out and during a day, if you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that, the rich pay less taxes or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true, the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods. They're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends, and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if that, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK.
Climb Mount Everest. That is one of that's in my bucket list. You're laughing, but that is the facts right there. I'd love to do that. That is something I'm looking forward to do, hopefully.
Climb Everest.
Mount Everest. I mean, okay, not the very tip of Mount Everest, maybe the base camp at least.
They're talking about mental health. Well, if you went out and got some exercise in the fresh air, that would improve your mental health. It will make you feel better.
That's true. That is true. I wholeheartedly agree. But then for some people, it's how do you find the motivation to, especially when it comes to riding a bicycle, to do it again and again and again and again? It's a cycle that you have to be used to. How do you do it? What makes you wake up in the morning and decide, hey, I'm going to pick my bike up today. I'm going to cycle. What makes you want to do that?
What makes me want to do that?
Yeah. What do you like? What could you give listeners, like people listening in right now? What kind of tip could you give them?
Well, the first tip I would give them, if you haven't tried it before, try it. It can open up new horizons. It'll make you fitter. It will definitely make you fitter. Cycling is one of the best forms of aerobic exercise you can do.
It sounds like, if you think about it, it sounds like great fun. Because what essentially you're trying to say is also at the same time, when if you look at it from this perspective, with regards to mental health, especially when you look at it with mental health, this is another way to fight it. I feel like you go outside, you meet more people, you interact with, socially, you'll interact with more people, and you're keeping fit, you're making connections, you're breathing in the good and exhaling the bad. I feel like that's a great thing right there.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got a better way with words than I have, I'll tell you. But you're quite right. What you say there.
I've been doing this for quite some time. Hey, you'll get the hang of it.
I've been doing it for about 10 minutes now, so yeah.
That I can never really understand people staying in one room the whole day when you can have the world to see. I am a traveler. I travel. I love traveling. Traveling is just one of the things I do. And on top of my bucket list was, to one time, hopefully when I get there, go to Nepal and climb Mount Everest. That is one of that's in my bucket list. You're laughing, but that is the facts right there. I'd love to do that. That is something I'm looking forward to do, hopefully.
Climb Everest.
Mount Everest. Okay, not the very tip of Mount Everest, maybe the base camp at least.
Base camp, yeah.
At least.
Would you be able to cycle there?
Oh.
One of the easiest ways to increase your net worth is to ensure that you have higher cash flows. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to not buy things on hire purchase, not buy things over months and months because you can't afford them now, but you want it. It's kind of that delayed gratification. Rather than buy that couch, that car, that stereo, that computer, whatever item, and pay it off over 12, 24, 36 months at an interest rate, rather invest that money, make do with what you've got, and then after 12, 24, 36 months, take the money that you've now invested and buy that good. An asset could be anything that appreciates or reduces a tax bill. So it could still be a liability, but it reduces their tax bill. And I'm not going to go into the technicalities because that's out of our remit here. However, for our use or our purpose, what we are talking to the listeners here is I would put this definition of an asset forward. An asset is anything that increases your income. Anything.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? When you are basically going out and during a day, if you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that, the rich pay less taxes or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true, the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods. They're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK.